The air in the village of Ajah was hot and still. The dusty road outside the health center buzzed with flies and noise from a nearby market. Inside the dim, quiet ward, a young woman named Ruth lay on a hospital bed. Her face was wet with sweat, her legs shaking. She had just given birth to a baby boy. The nurse held the baby carefully and placed him on Ruth's chest, but she turned her face away. "Do you want to hold your son?" the nurse asked gently. "No," Ruth said coldly. "Take him away. I want nothing to do with him." The nurse blinked, surprised. "Are you sure? Why?" Ruth looked the other way. Her eyes were dark. "His father left me. I have no money, no future. I don't want this child." Later that night, when no one was watching, Ruth quietly walked out of the hospital with only her handbag. She left her baby behind, wrapped in a small white cloth, lying alone in the hospital bed. She didn't even look back. The next morning, a cleaner found the baby crying. She rushed to the nurses. They searched the whole hospital, but Ruth was gone. They named the baby Toba, which meant, "God is great." The hospital couldn't keep him, so he was taken to a crowded orphanage in a nearby town called Aroa. The matron there was a strong woman named Mama Kike. She had a wide smile and big arms that hugged every child. Toba grew up fast. He was quiet but always watching. He loved to build things: paper cars, houses from matchboxes, kites from plastic bags. Even when other children teased him for being poor and abandoned, he kept building. Mama Kike noticed. "This boy has hands like a king," she would say. But life was not easy in the orphanage. Food was small. Rain leaked through the roof. Some nights, Toba would cry to sleep, wondering why his real mother didn't want him. And the next morning, he worked hard. He studied hard. Every year, he came top in class. He would run to Mama Kike, holding his paper certificate, grinning wide. One day, when Toba was 10, a rich man visited the orphanage. His name was Mr. Ode. He wore a shiny agbada and gold watch. He wanted to help one child, just one, and take them to the city to study. He looked around, then saw Toba fixing a broken fan in the corner. "That one," he said, pointing. "The one with the clever hands." The orphanage buzzed with excitement. Toba was nervous but also proud. "Me," he whispered. "Yes, you," Mr. Ode said. "You're going to the city." The next morning, Toba packed his small bag. He hugged Mama Kike tightly. "I will make you proud," he said. "I know you will," Mama Kike replied. "Go and shine." The city was huge and noisy. Toba had never seen tall buildings, streetlights, or moving staircases before. Mr. Ade's house was like a palace. His wife was kind and his 2 children were polite. At first, Toba felt small. He missed Mama Kike. But Mr. Ode believed in him. He sent Toba to the best school. Toba studied harder than anyone, always coming first. But not everyone liked Toba's rise. At school, some boys mocked him. "Orphan boy," they would whisper. "Charity case." Toba never fought them. He just studied more. At night, he would draw plans, machines, tools, flying bikes, things no one had ever seen before. One day, during science class, he built a small solar-powered fan from leftover parts. His teacher was amazed. "Where did you learn this?" "I just think about what's missing," Toba said. "Then I try to make it." News spread. He entered science competitions and won. One day, a journalist came to interview him. They took pictures, wrote articles. "Orphan genius wins again." One of those articles made its way to a woman in another town, Ruth. She was older now, tired, and broke. She worked as a cleaner in a small office. One of her co-workers showed her the article. "See this boy," the woman said. "He's only 15 years. Look at what he's done. Born in a hospital in Ajah, they say." Ruth froze. Her heart beat fast. That was where she gave birth. She looked at the boy's face. The nose. The eyes. The name. Toba. Her hands shook. She dropped the paper and ran to the bathroom. Tears poured down her face. She whispered, "Is it him?" But she didn't tell anyone. Toba didn't know. He was too busy chasing his dreams. By the time he was 18, he had started his own small company. He invented low-cost solar fans for people in hot, poor villages. They sold fast. Big companies noticed him. Investors came. He was smart, polite, and determined. At 22, he became one of the youngest tech millionaires in the country. But his heart was still gentle. He never forgot Mama Kike. He built her a new orphanage. Bigger. Safer. With solar lights and fans. He called it the Kike Center for Lost Stars. People clapped. Cameras flashed. But someone was watching quietly from far away. A woman in an old scarf, holding a faded hospital band. Toba didn't know who she was. Not yet. But he would soon. Ruth could not sleep for many nights. She sat on her old mattress, staring at the newspaper photo of Toba, the same boy she had left. Her own son. He is now a man everyone is talking about. Her heart is full of shame. She had nothing, no husband, no family, no house. She cleaned floors, begged for leftover food, and lived in a broken room with holes in the roof. But her son, he lived in a mansion, smiled on TV, and helped poor people. She wanted to forget the past, but the guilt burned like fire. Every corner of her mind screamed, "You abandoned him." After 3 days, Ruth stood up and made a choice. "I must see him," she whispered. She washed her only good wrapper, packed her little things in a nylon bag, and took a bus to the big city. The journey was long. The roads were bumpy, the bus smelt like sweat and petrol, and her stomach grumbled from hunger. But Ruth didn't care. She kept the newspaper in her bag and held it close like a treasure. When she arrived in the city, everything felt strange. There were tall buildings, cars everywhere, and big shops she had never seen before. She asked people on the street, "Please, where is the Kike Center for Lost Stars?" They pointed. They laughed. Some ignored her. But Ruth kept moving. She reached the big white building, clean and shiny, with golden letters on the wall. The security at the gate stopped her. "Who are you?" one asked. Ruth's lips trembled. I came to see Toba. I am his mother." The security laughed. "You and every other woman in this city. Go away." Ruth pulled out the old hospital band with Toba's name and date of birth. Her hands shook. Her voice cracked. "I left him in Ajah hospital years ago. This is proof that he is my son." The guards looked at each other. One called inside. Minutes later, a young man in a neat suit came out. His name was Kemi, Toba's personal assistant. He listened to Ruth's story, looked at the band, and frowned. "Wait here," he said. Inside, Toba was in a meeting with business people. His company was growing fast. He was talking about a new project for free solar schools in villages. Kemi whispered in his ear, "There is a woman outside the gate. She says she is your mother." Toba blinked. "My mother?" "Yes. A woman outside with an old hospital band." Toba felt like the air had disappeared from the room. His chest was heavy. For so long, he believed he had no family. He told himself it didn't matter. He was strong. He had survived. But now, she had come. Part of him wanted to run out. Another part wanted to turn away and forget. He stood up slowly. His team followed him with confused eyes. Outside, Ruth waited with a beating heart. Then, the big glass doors opened. A tall, handsome young man stepped out. Black suit. Shiny shoes. A watch that could buy 10 houses. Toba. Ruth fell to her knees. "My son. Forgive me," she cried, tears pouring. Toba stood still. His eyes were cold. but there was pain inside. Why? His voice was deep and sharp. Why did you leave me? Why did you abandon me? Ruth cried harder. I was poor. I had no choice. I thought I would die. Toba's hands clenched into fists. His life had been full of hunger, bullying, loneliness. Because of her. The guards and staff watched, holding their breath. Toba took a deep breath. He is no longer the boy who cried alone in the orphanage. Now he had power. Now he could decide. The wind blew softly. Ruth sobbed. Please. I don't want your money. I just want to see you. Just once. Toba's heart fought his mind. He wanted to shout. To scream. But he also remembered Mama Kike's voice. Kindness will always win, my son. His jaw tightened. The moment of choice had come. And his next words would change everything. Toba stood tall, staring at the woman who had left him to suffer alone in the world. His heart was loud inside his chest, louder than the cars passing by, louder than the whispers of the people standing around. He had imagined this moment many times in his life. But now that it was real, it felt strange. He thought he would be angry. He thought he would hate her. But instead, he just felt heavy, like carrying a bag of stones in his chest. Ruth stayed on her knees. She didn't raise her head. Her tears fell on the concrete floor, making little dark spots. Her shoulders shook like leaves in the wind. I have nothing, no house, no food, but my heart has never rested since I left you, she whispered. Every day I prayed to see you, even if it's just from far. Even if you never forgive me. Toba swallowed hard. His throat hurt. Memories of hunger, cold nights, and cruel words rushed into his head. But also memories of Mama Kike's warm hug, the encouragement of Mr. Ajah, the joy of building his first invention. All these things had made him strong. Slowly, Toba stepped forward. Stand up, he said quietly. Ruth looked up, afraid. I said, stand up, Toba repeated, his voice firm but not angry. Ruth stood shakily. Her legs felt weak, like they could fall at any moment. Toba looked straight into her eyes. You abandoned me. But I will not abandon you. Ruth gasped. I am not like you, Toba said, his voice getting stronger. I will never turn my back on someone who is weak, because I know how it feels. The crowd started gathering, their eyes wide in shock and amazement. Toba turned to Kemi. Give her food. Let her rest. Clean her up. Give her new clothes. Yes, sir, Kemi answered quickly. Ruth's mouth opened in surprise. Her body shook from crying. My son. I don't deserve this. No, you don't, Toba said honestly. But I am not doing it for you. I'm doing it for the little boy you left, so he can finally rest. He turned to leave but then stopped. His heart was still heavy, but something inside felt a little lighter. He spoke without turning back. You will not live with me. You will not call yourself the mother of a billionaire. You will stay in the Kike Center, with the women and children who need help. You will wash, clean and serve, until you learn what it means to care for others. Ruth fell to her knees again, crying, but this time, they were tears of hope. Toba walked back inside, his chest rising and falling. In his office, his phone buzzed. Another investor wanted to meet. Another deal to be made. More people to help. His name was growing. Not just in his country, but around the world. Yet deep inside, a little boy's broken heart was starting to heal. That night, Toba stood on the balcony of his mansion, looking at the stars. Maybe, just maybe, he was not born to suffer. Maybe, he was born to shine. But far away, in the darkness of a big city, other eyes were watching him too. Angry eyes. Jealous hearts. People who wanted to pull him down. Toba didn't know it yet. But the real storm was only beginning. The next morning, Toba woke up early. He had many meetings lined up. His new project was about to launch. a technology hub for young inventors from poor backgrounds. He wanted children like him to have a place to dream, to create, and to succeed. He dressed neatly in his sky blue native wear, smiled at his reflection, and walked downstairs. His house staff greeted him with respect. The world saw him as a hero, a miracle boy who became a billionaire. But as Toba walked outside, Kemi rushed to him with a worried look. "Sir, we have a problem," Kemi said quickly. Toba raised his brow. "What is it?" Kemi handed him a tablet. "Look at this." Toba saw a blog post with big letters. "Billionaire orphan secretly hides his mother in local center." Below the title were pictures of Ruth crying at the gate, kneeling before Toba. His heart sank. "How did this get out?" Toba asked sharply. "I don't know, sir. But it's spreading fast. People are calling. Reporters want answers. Some are saying you hate your mother. Others say you're just pretending to be kind." Toba sighed heavily. Trouble had come knocking. Before he could speak, another phone rang. His lawyer. Then another from a famous TV host. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. News cameras were already outside the Kike Center. Reporters asking Ruth questions. Microphones in her face. Ruth, still in her fresh clothes, looked lost and confused. Toba rushed to the center. The place was crowded. Reporters yelling. Neighbors peeking. He stepped out of the car. Cameras flashed like lightning. One reporter shouted, "Is it true you refused to help your mother for years?" Another asked, "Why did you leave her in the center like a servant?" Toba's jaw tightened. He raised his hand. The crowd fell silent. "I will say this once," Toba said clearly. "The woman who gave birth to me left me to die in a hospital. I grew up in an orphanage. I built my life from the ground up." Whispers spread across the crowd. "But I chose not to hate," Toba continued. "I forgave her. I gave her shelter, food, and care. She will live here because this is where people are learning to rebuild their hearts. Just like I did." The crowd went silent. But not everyone clapped. Hidden behind the cameras was a man in black glasses. His name was Cole. He was once the richest young man in the city before Toba became famous. His businesses failed. His pride was crushed. Now, he stood watching Toba shine, his teeth clenched in anger. "That boy took my glory," Cole whispered. "But I will take it back." That evening, Cole gathered with a group of bitter businessmen. Men who felt threatened by Toba's success. They made secret plans to destroy his name, his business, his heart. Back in his mansion, Toba sat quietly in his room. His phone beeped again, another threat, another lie spreading online. He had risen from nothing. But could he survive the storm of envy rising around him? Could his clean heart survive the dirty games of the world? Toba looked at his childhood picture on the wall, his tiny innocent eyes staring back at him. He whispered, "I've come too far. I won't fall now." But deep down, he knew. The hardest battle was just beginning. The next few days were full of noise. News stations kept talking about Toba. Some praised him, calling him the kind billionaire with a golden heart, while others told ugly stories, saying he was faking kindness for fame. On social media, people argued all day, many typing without knowing the full truth. In the middle of it all, Toba stayed calm on the outside, but his heart was heavy. He had never liked fame. All he wanted was to build things, help the poor, and give back to people like Mama Kike who saved him. But now, people were dragging his name through the mud. At the Kike Center, Ruth was confused and scared. Reporters followed her around, asking questions. Some people sent her gifts, others sent hateful messages, calling her a bad mother. She stayed in her room, crying most nights. Mama Kike, who had now retired but always visited the center, came to see Toba. "My boy," she said softly, "when you climb too high, winds will try to shake you. But don't forget your roots." Toba smiled weakly. "Mama, I didn't ask for this attention. I just wanted to help." Mama Kike held his hand. Then keep helping. They will get tired, but your good works will stand. But far away, in the big office of Cole, evil plans were growing. Cole sat with 3 men. One was a crooked banker named Mr. Leahy. Another was a famous gossip blogger called Madam Cece. The third was a former contractor who lost a big deal to Toba's company. Cole banged the table. Toba must fall. He must feel what it means to lose everything. They planned fake news, lies, and bribes. Madam Cece would post lies about Toba's company, saying they cheated villagers. Mr. Leahy would pay people to start false lawsuits. The contractor would sabotage Toba's new invention by replacing his products with faulty ones. Their goal was simple: crush Toba's business, ruin his name, and take over his projects. One evening, Toba sat with Kemi going through reports. He saw strange complaints coming in, villagers saying the free solar fans were breaking down, clients canceling deals, sponsors pulling out. His bank account was frozen because of a fake investigation. "What is happening?" Toba shouted. Kemi looked worried. "Sir, someone is setting traps everywhere." Toba's heart pounded. He called his lawyer, his accountant, his managers. Nobody had answers. His company was shaking like a house in a storm. Ruth came to his office, her eyes full of fear. "My son. Is everything okay?" Toba swallowed hard. "No, Mama. It's not." That night, Toba sat alone in his dark office, staring at the city lights. He thought of quitting, of running far away. But then, his phone rang. It was a video from a small village in Aroa. Children were gathered around a working solar light, singing and doing homework under it. An old woman smiled into the camera. "Thank you, Toba," she said in the video. "You gave us light when no one cared." Toba's hands shook. He wiped his eyes slowly. "No," he whispered. "They can take my money, but they will not take my light." He stood up, his back straighter than ever. The storm had come, but Toba was ready to fight. Because this battle was about more than money. It was about his purpose, his destiny, his legacy. And this time, he would fight back. The next morning, Toba called a meeting in his office. The air was thick. Kemi sat with a worried face, other managers looking tired and scared. Everyone knew their company was under attack. Deals were falling apart, lies spreading like wildfire, and people who once smiled at Toba were now turning their backs. But when Toba walked in, something was different about him. His steps were firm, his head high, his voice strong. "Enough," he said. "Enough of letting them drag my name. Enough of silence." Everyone sat up straight. Toba turned to Kemi. "Start a live broadcast. Call every news station. Tell them Toba has something to say." Kemi blinked in surprise. "Sir, you want to speak?" "Yes," Toba nodded. "If the world wants to hear about me, they will hear the truth from my own mouth." Within 2 hours, cameras filled his office. Reporters, microphones, bright lights. People from all over the country tuned in to watch. Toba stood before them in his simple native wear, no gold chains, no flashy suits. Just a young man with scars of survival and the heart of a lion. He cleared his throat and looked straight into the camera. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Toba," he began. "I was born in a small village hospital. My mother left me there. I was raised in an orphanage. I built my life from scratch." The crowd was silent. "Yes. My mother returned years later. Yes. I gave her a place to stay, not because she deserved it, but because I chose to be better than hate." He paused. "But now, enemies are lying against me, trying to break what I built. They say my products are fake, that I cheated people, that I don't care for the poor." Toba raised his voice. "Let me ask the poor people themselves." He pressed a button. On the screen behind him, live videos played, villages with working solar lights, mothers cooking at night under safe lights, children doing homework, women starting businesses using tools Toba's company provided. We serve hundreds of villages. We build, we teach, we help, without asking for anything in return, Toba continued. The crowd nodded slowly. Whispers turned to claps. And to those who spread lies. I know who you are, Toba said firmly. Cole, Lay, Madam Cece. I know your faces. I have records of your bribes, your fake purchases, your plans. Reporters gasped loudly. Phones beeped. Social media exploded. I will not be bullied. I will not be silenced. And I will not fall, Toba said, his fist on the table. Because I do this, not for money, but for the little boy who was left behind, for every hungry child who thinks life is over, for every forgotten person who needs light. Cheers burst in the room. Reporters clapped. Toba smiled calmly. Now, you can choose to destroy me, or you can join me to build a better world. But I promise you, even if you break my company, you will never break me. That evening, millions of people shared the video. It was everywhere. TV, radio, phones. Ordinary people, rich people, even children talked about Toba. In the dark office, Cole watched the speech. His hands shook. Madam Cece cursed. Mr. Lay felt sweat on his forehead. Their plan had backfired. Ruth watched too, sitting in the kike center, tears rolling down her cheeks. That's my son, she whispered, voice shaking. Toba returned home that night tired but peaceful. But in the shadow of the city, Cole was not done. He stood by his window, looking at the city lights, his eyes red with rage. This is just the beginning, Cole hissed. Toba had won one battle, but the war was far from over, and the next storm would be worse than anything Toba had ever faced.
Thank you for listening to another magic dose from FolkTales by JJ, where every story holds a secret, a spirit, and a spark of wonder. If you love this story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep the fire alive. And remember, in every whisper of the word, there just might be another story waiting to be told. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and keep the fire burning. Signing out with love. Bye.